If this is your first time here, my name is Brian. I'm a full-time reseller. I sell on eBay, and I am also a part-time YouTube content creator. On eBay, I sell in the everything category, so I sell pots, pans, tools, clothes, stuffed animals, you name it. Just anything that has profit attached to it, I probably sell it on eBay. Today we're going to pack and ship an order and talk about the process that I use start to finish. And then we're going to talk about the worst and best sales from last week. We're going to get into all that. Stick around. Thanks for joining me today. If you want to skip ahead to the sales section, you can go ahead and skip to this time in the video. If you want to stick around, we're going to spend a few minutes packing and getting an order ready to ship. This is a fake order. I don't have this order in the system. I've been trying to sell this for a while, so hopefully maybe practicing it will help it sell. We'll see. But I put out my very first post on YouTube and asked if people had ideas on different video topics to go along with my weekly sales. I usually include something there. And Julie from Julie's Vintage Love asked about shipping and just said, you know, if you could go over the process start to finish, that'd be awesome. So I'm going to do that today and just talk about the entire process that I use. So it starts for me at the very beginning. Whenever I have an item, we're going to use this Revere Ware saucepan as an example. I sell quite a few of these. I've been packing them, and I know I've had some comments, and not everybody likes packing or selling cookware. They think it's daunting. So I thought it'd be a good example to use and pack this one up today. But whenever I get something like this and I decide I want to sell it, the first thing I do is whenever I'm done taking pictures of the item is I use my scale, and I've got, it's a nice scale. It's a Smart Way scale. I got it on Amazon. The important part that I think is to have this separate piece, and you can have it probably remote, but this has a cord and this whole separate piece. That way you can set very large packages on this, and your little weight box or the little display screen is not in the way. So the very first thing I do is after I'm done taking pictures, usually in my pictures, I'm using my tape measure and I'm doing some sort of measurement in the picture. If I didn't, then I will take a measurement to give me an idea of how big the item is. So in my head, I know what kind of box size to use whenever I'm listing. So I'll snap a picture of that for myself for reference. And then whenever I weigh it, I'll snap a picture of the display screen for reference as well. So whenever I'm listing the item, I have a good idea of the size box that I need to use to pack the item and the weight of the item itself. And then I'm adding in weight for the box. For packing materials, I'm going through my head what packing materials I want to use. Am I using paper? Am I using bubble wrap, air pillows? Paper weighs more than bubble wrap and air pillows. It just weighs more. So I'm just trying to decide how much weight to add for that. I typically also round up my weight a little bit. Not a lot, not several pounds, maybe a pound sometimes to give myself a little bit of extra cushion. No pun intended, but or a little wiggle room in the packing material that I'm going to use for the item to make sure I wrap it and pack it properly to get it to its destination safely. You know, you'll see in my sales sometimes, like in the total this week, I think I made for the week $9 on my shipping because of the rounding up a little bit in the shipping and being able to ship it at a little bit less weight or smaller dimensions for the items. So I just kind of build all that in at the beginning. So I think one of the most important step to be successful in shipping items is getting your weights and your approximate dimensions done right up front. That way you have an idea of what the shipping's, what to put in for the shipping. Now this is all based, I should say, on calculated shipping. I use calculated shipping for 99.7% of the items that I sell. If you're doing free shipping, that's going to be a little bit of trial and error. I used to do free shipping whenever I was primarily selling clothes. It's a lot easier to know that one pair of pants, it's 2 pounds and it goes in this envelope. It's going to cost, the most it's going to cost you is X amount going anywhere in the country. A little bit more difficult when you've got saucepans that weigh, anywhere from 2 pounds to 4 pounds to whatever pounds, they weigh, different boxes, different packing materials, all that sort of thing. So I would really encourage you to maybe, especially if you're new to reselling, to take a look at calculated shipping so that you're covering your bases and you're not losing your rear end on shipping costs. So that can really bite you. The other alternative is if you only have just a handful, and I mean a handful of items that you're listing, is you could pack it right from the beginning, weigh it, measure it, the whole deal, and know what it's going to cost to ship and put that as your shipping or build it into your price. That gets really tough and it takes up tons of space if you're doing that with a lot of items. But if you just have 10 or 12 items, it's not a big deal. So that being said, we're going to get into packing and getting this item ready to ship. So I've got a few things here. I've got my scale, so we're going to go ahead and weigh this saucepan. Turn on my scale. I've got mine set to pounds and ounces. All right. 1.4 pounds, or 1 pound, 4 ounces. 1 pound, 4 ounces. So for now, we'll go ahead and set this just right down here. And this is actually where I weigh all my stuff to ship it. I keep my scale right here and I push it under a rack whenever I'm done, but I set it right here so it's kind of out of the way whenever I'm shipping items. Got my handy dandy eBay tape gun. I leave my 25-cent sticker on there to remind me you don't need fancy stuff. I picked that up at a garage sale for 25 cents. I have my little hand roll of stretch wrap. I use this instead of, whenever I'm wrapping stuff inside of a box to go in a box, instead of putting tape all over it, because taking tape off stuff, especially if it's anything that's fragile, it's tough sometimes to get tape off things. So I use stretch wrap so that you can just cut right through with a pair of scissors or unwrap it if you can find the end of it. And it's much more, I think, customer friendly. So I use that a lot. Scissors, I cut my stretch wrap instead of just tearing it. I have a tape measure. I have a pen. I have my marker. I have my fake shipping label. I've got my saucepan and the box that I'm going to use. This is the one that I would have selected to use for a saucepan whenever I was thinking about which box to use. This is a box I get commonly from a guy I buy boxes from. It's something that books or comic books come in for a shop, so it is a used box. I use a lot of used boxes. I do use some new boxes, but I'd say that probably 85–90% of the boxes I use are used, upcycled boxes. So it's just, it's a good box. If you were to go buy this box just off the shelf somewhere, it'd probably cost you $1.50. But luckily used boxes, I've probably got, I don't know, 10–15 cents into it, so I like that. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little bit of packing paper in the bottom of this box just for a little bit of cushion. I usually grab 2 pieces at a time, and it doesn't have to be super thick because I make sure and kind of smash everything tight. That's what it looks like. It's a little bit loose in there now, but that's the way I get a little bit of cushion at the bottom. I like using paper for cushion versus bubble or pillows because there's more give to it. It does weigh a little bit more, so it costs you a little bit on the shipping, but there's more give to it inside. Where if you have maybe not bubble wrap as much, but air pillows tend to have a little more rigidity because when you pack them in, they're tight. And if there's a force on the outside, then it could cause pressure on the item where the paper and probably bubble wrap when it's all scrunched up will absorb that a little bit better. Now I'm going to wrap this in bubble wrap. I don't think it's necessary. It's just an extra step I like to do for the customer experience. So I'm going to grab some bubble wrap. I think the saucepan would get there just fine without it, but again, it's just one of my quirks. I was in distribution for a long time, and on the sales side and working in the office, and I knew how important it was to customers for their items to be packaged properly, and sometimes maybe a little bit better than they expected, so they had a great experience and there was less problem with the items. So I just wrapped it around long ways a couple of times. This is where the stretch wrap comes in handy. That's what it looks like. Nothing very fancy, but just gives it a little extra layer of protection. Again, I don't think you need it, but I just like to do that. So now we've got our saucepan in there, and I'm going to put some pressure on it, but that's what it's going to look like right there. Now I'm going to pack paper around it. One thing I'd encourage you to do is when you're packing items, you know, this packing paper, I buy this at Walmart. Actually, it's cheaper at Walmart than off Amazon or eBay. It might be tempting to look at the cost of a sheet of packing paper and start, you know, nickeling and diming, you know, kind of taking the cheap way and putting less packing material in the box to try to save some money. But I'll tell you, the first time you get something that's damaged, you'll wish you put in an extra piece of paper. So I always tend to pack very well. The vast majority of comments I get on my eBay shipments aren't cheapest seller, nicest person. It's all usually about the packing, the quickness with which I ship orders, or how well it was packed, because I try to really pack things well. And I'm not saying that everybody has to do it this way. It's just the way that I do it. Again, I want to make sure my customers have the very best experience whenever they're opening a package that I ship to them. This last one, grab one. So it's sticking out of the top right there, but that's what it looks like whenever I'm all done. Whenever you're packing an item, you want to make sure that when you're having to put pressure right there to get your packing material in, not just like sitting on the thing kind of pressure, but just, you know, putting some pressure on it to get it to close. If your box is caving in, you don't want that. You want there to be nice pressure from the packing material coming back up against the box so that you have a real sturdy box. Before I tape it, I'll hold it like this and make sure I'm not getting any shake. There's nothing inside the package moving around. That's really important too. You don't, even if there's stuff that's inside of something that I'm shipping, I will stuff bubble wrap, packing paper, something inside of it to keep everything from moving around in the package. I want it to be silent whenever I'm moving that thing around. I don't want there to be anything moving around inside the box that can hit or chip or ding or whatever it is. So that's how I do that. Whenever I'm taping, I don't just do a piece across the top both ways. I go all the way around the box. That was a recommendation from one of the gals that works at the desk at my local post office. She looked at one of my packages one day and she goes, you know, if I were you, I would go all the way around the box. She said that way, in case a box gets crushed or it splits open for some reason, if you have the tape going all the way around, it's more likely to hold your box intact, and you're less likely to lose something out of your package. I've never had that happen to me, but made a little bit of sense. And tape, in the grand scheme of things, is pretty cheap, so that's what I do. Depending on what I'm shipping, I may also go around the edge of the box. I don't do that often, but sometimes I do. If I have a box, I've got one sitting down here where it has the front flaps that fold in. I went around the perimeter of that one as well, because it's another, I guess, kind of weak point in the box. So that one is ready to go. So once you've done that, I'm going to take final measurements, because your box size can change after you've put a bunch of packing material in there. And if you are right on the edge, it can, push you over into that next inch. So you always want to round up to a full inch. So this one is 14 3/4 is what this one is. 14 3/4. So I'm rounding up to 15. This one is 11 1/4. So I'm rounding up to 12. So this is 15 by 12. And height-wise, we're at 5 1/4. So this is a 15 by 12 by 6 is what this is going to be. Let's get the scale back. Put that on the scale. We are at 2 pounds 9 ounces. You can throw the label on there. Doesn't change. I've had it change before. I had one change today from 12 to 13 ounces whenever I put the label on it on the scale, and it pushed the shipping up $1, but it was okay. I had it built in already, but I was like, dang it. But yeah, so we're at 2 pounds 9 ounces with the label. We were at 1 pound 4 ounces without it. So we had 1 pound 5 ounces of shipping materials. So that's box, paper, bubble wrap, everything. Once you start shipping items like this is the, I don't know, 20th, 25th saucepan I've packed up in the past few months. So I have a pretty good gauge. I bet if I look, I probably have this one in the app set at either 3 or 4 pounds. I probably have it set at 3 pounds for shipping. Just because I've packed enough of them now that I know about what it's going to weigh whenever it's all said and done. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put my shipping label on. This may seem really, I don't know if this seems too simple. I'm not trying to make it that simple, and I wrote my shipping label stuff on the wrong side, so I couldn't peel it off. And depending on what it is, sometimes I put my shipping label right here. And then I write a note. Thank you. Enjoy. I always put a handwritten note on my packages. Sometimes I write it on the cardboard. A lot of times I write it across the bottom of the label. I may put on a whole separate label if there's something I need to cover up on the box, and just put a handwritten note on that blank label. But I always put a handwritten note on my boxes, even if it's just thank you. I put something handwritten on there. It takes 2 seconds, and it's another, customer experience piece that I think matters. I use a thermal printer. That's a 4x6 thermal printer label. The one I use is, you're gonna see the behind the scenes here. So it's a Munbin. I don't know the brand, but just bought it on Amazon. Had pretty good ratings. It was fairly inexpensive. I think it was $75 on Amazon, and I have an app on my phone, and I just print the labels right off the app for all my shipments each day. I noticed at Walmart, actually, the labels that I have there, I ran out because I thought I had more and I didn't, and had to buy those at Walmart. Walmart is selling a thermal printer now that looks identical to that, but it's their own brand, I think, and I think they're $80 or $90, so it's fairly inexpensive. And now if you want a thermal printer, you can just go pick one up at Walmart right off the shelf. But there's a ton of them. There's Rollo is a very popular brand, and there's a bunch of other, popular ones. I just went for something that's a little bit cost effective, and it's been working great for me for about 3 or 4 months now. So that is how I pack and ship items. And the mileage does vary. Sometimes I have to ship really big, weird items. I have some raw cardboard sheets over here that I can make some custom boxes with, or I can take another box and cut it down, which takes a little bit of time. But that's, pretty standard, is shipping something like that on a day-to-day basis and how I pack it. So I hope that helps. If you have any questions about that, do leave me a note down below, and I'd be happy to answer it. And if there's anything that you feel like I missed or I need to address, be happy to do that in a follow-up video. So now that we've pretend shipped that saucepan, it'd be nice if somebody would buy that so that I could just go ahead and leave it in the box, but I'll take it out of the box later. We're going to get into last week's sales. It was a pretty good week, a really strong weekend for item sales. Dollars were a little bit low, but overall it was a great week. I can't complain at all. I know some people have made comments that eBay sales are slow, and I've certainly had some of that from time to time, but this past week wasn't one of those. So I'm just going to get into everything. Let's look at just the overall for last week's sales. So I sold 34 items last week, which was really good. I actually went through and am kind of cleaning up my store. So there's a bunch of clothing items I have that are in a box. I know where they're in a box somewhere in my garage. I know they're out there. They made the move down here from Illinois with us, and I haven't sold any of them. They're getting no action, and they're just sitting there in my store. There was about 80 items on my store that didn't make sense to have them listed. So I went through last week and I delisted them all, brought my store item count down to about 350 or so, and sales just kept on going. So if you looked at my store right now, my sell-through rate is 100 and something percent, because I have way more items sold than listed because I took all that stuff off. But they weren't adding anything to my store. So it was just really kind of detracting from what I thought my store was doing, so I took them down. So 34 items sold. That was a total, I'm going to put all the numbers right up here. So that was a total of $918.63 in sales. That's inclusive of item sales and shipping revenue. After the fees, shipping, promo fees, everything, cost of goods, everything all in, that was a pre-tax profit of $317.21, or a 35% profit margin. Did have some personal items in there this week that zeroed out the profit. I had 3 different personal items, so that kind of drug that profit down a little bit. And then, as you'll see, as we get into the top 5, there was an item in the top 5 that pulled that profit down a little bit as well. And then the worst 5. We're going to get into that right now. Definitely pulling the profit down. Yeah, let's just get right into it and rip that Band-Aid off. So, worst 5 items of the week. Coming in at number 5 is this Columbia vest. This is I think powder light, or I think that's what it's called, vest. It has the really shiny reflective material inside. It was a size small. I picked it up at Ross. Wasn't intending to sell it. I bought it for my son. I thought, man, he's going to love this. And then he didn't. But he decided after it was there was past the return window, he decided he didn't want it. Luckily, all the tags were still on it. I said, fine, I'll just take it and I'll sell it. So, sold it, took an offer on it, and made a whole $2.06 for a 5% profit margin. But it's gone now, so that's good. Coming in at number 4 is this little Stanley. It's a little nail set tool for trim carpentry or trim work. So picked that up at an estate sale for 55 cents. I bought a whole bunch of nail sets and tools. This is when I was in Colorado about a month ago. And this was in the bag, and I ended up selling it separate. I had it listed for, I think, $4.89, but over the weekend I had a 30% sale. Not a coupon, but a sale. Little side story. If you run a coupon, it shows the full price, and then below that it'll say save an extra 30% with the coupon. So you don't, if people can't do the math in their head, they don't know what that price is. If you run a store sale, it strikes through your price, and it has the lower price there. So it shows them right away. I'm not really sure what the benefit is of having the coupon versus the store sale. I'd be interested to know if any of you out there do that and which one you use and why. I am going to start only using the store sale because you actually see what the price is right there. So to get more people in to look at stuff. All right, back to the Stanley nail set. Sold that for $3.42 for a $1.85 profit, or a 23% profit margin. And the profit is pre-tax profit. Number 3 is this Vivitar flash. It's a flash attachment for a camera. It's a vintage piece. I picked it up for 55 cents at an estate liquidation facility here in Oklahoma City, and sold it for $4.50 plus shipping. This one I'm not too bent out of shape about. I'm not bent out of shape about any of them, but this one even less so than others, because this was part of 4 items that somebody bought. So he bought this one, he bought another flash from me, and 2 mugs. So I had about $1.50 or $1.60 into about a $25 plus shipping sale that went out. So it ended up being pretty good overall. It's just for the whole thing, but this one item, $1.71 profit, 24% profit margin. It's just really low profit by itself. All right, number 2. So second worst sale of the week is this cassette holder. When I was listing this, I was really contemplating, should I even list it? And I just threw it up. I don't know why. I guess bad judgment. Paid $1 for it at a garage sale and sold it for $6.22 plus shipping. The reason I bought it in the first place, it's super boring looking. It's not a cool case or anything, but because it's for cassettes, and you have to go buy used or vintage or old things to hold cassettes now. So that's why I picked it up. But $6.22 plus shipping, so I made $1.49 or an 11% profit margin. Glad to see it go out the door. Been wondering about that one for a while. I've sent out a lot of offers on it. I think I've sent out offers better than 30% before. Had no action, and put it on the 30% sale, and it went right out the door. And then the worst item of the week. This is the second one of these I've sold. I sold one a few weeks ago. It sold for full price, luckily. This one sold on the 30% sale, and it sold, I paid $15.23 for it at TJ Maxx. Brand new with tags. It sold for $17.42 plus shipping. I lost 3 cents. I was just right on the edge. So whenever my profit margin calculation came out to 0, instead of, it would have been like negative 0.03 or something, but came out to 0% profit margin. So I barely lost money, but I lost 3 cents. So glad to see that one go out the door. It's the last one of those. No more inventory from TJ Maxx. I still have inventory from Ross sitting up there, unfortunately. Got a couple pair of socks and a few hats and things, but we'll get those, and a few pair of shoes. So we'll get those out the door. But now we get to talk about the best 5 sales of the week. This is going to be the fun part. Some cool items in here. Cool to me. Coming in at number 5, 5th best sale of the week, are these Starrett machinist punches. I've heard people call them Starrett or Starrett. You can probably say Starrett, but Starrett is how you. It's a e Starrett, or like a I sound. Starrett. It. There you go. Not that anybody needs a grammar lesson, but Picked these up at the estate sale in Colorado with that whole bunch of stuff. There were 6 of the little punches in there. Picked them up for $2.20. Sold them for $20.41 plus shipping for a $16 pre-tax profit, or a 60% profit margin, which is really where I want to be. Number 4 are these hearing aid batteries. I did a short video on those last week, because talking about free inventory, because I got them for free. I don't remember if it was a garage sale or a estate sale. I think it was a garage sale, and there was a free box sitting up on the porch. You'll see them at both garage and estate sales. Usually they're either by the curb or sitting up somewhere, and there'll be a flap on the box that says free on it in black marker. And just walked up and looked down there, and I saw a couple boxes of hearing aid batteries that were made in Germany and still had plenty of life left in them. And I picked them up, took them home, listed them up. I've had them listed for a few months, but got them sold for $19.89 plus shipping for a $17.70 pre-tax profit, or 66% profit margin. I got a comment on those after that video, and somebody said, it's crazy what people will pay for. They're free here in, I think they said, the UK. And I said, really? And apparently, if you have hearing aids, I don't know if it's clinics or hospitals or the hearing aid centers, I think might have been the comment, provides free batteries for your hearing aids anytime you need them, which I thought was awesome. Let's see. Number 3. Let's look at number 3. So the third best sale of the week are these purple Doc Martens, purple suede Doc Martens. These I did buy at Ross, paid $55 for these. This is the second time I've sold them, so I lost about $7 on them. It still would be the third best sale of the week. I didn't take the $7 out of my profit, but I had to have them shipped back to me because of that. So they cost $55. Sold them for $99.89 plus shipping for a $29.59 pre-tax profit, or a 27% profit margin. Not a great profit margin. It's not something that I would buy again, even though, I made $30. This is not the model that I'm pursuing. I'm looking for higher profit margins and something that's going to sell faster. I've had these, I sold them about a month and a half ago, got them back. But before that, I had them for about 4 months. So it took quite a while to get them sold. Let's see. Number 2, second best sale of the week, is this Frederick Post Versalog slide rule. It's made in Japan, has a really cool leather case. I don't understand what's going on with it. I'm sure it has very complicated mathematical measurements, and I looked at it. I thought it was really cool. And it was kind of a surprise extra. I bought a drafting kit at this church sale, and it wouldn't close because this slide rule was sitting in with the drafting kit stuff, and there was some A.W. Faber lead holder pencils that I've already sold that were sitting in there as well. So I sold the pencils, the lead holders, for I think $23 or $24 by themselves. Sold this guy. I assigned a cost of $1. Sold it for $38.42 plus shipping on the 30% off sale, for a $33.12 pre-tax profit, or 73% profit margin. And then just yesterday, I sold the actual drafting kit itself. So now I've sold all 3 pieces, paid $5 for the 3. So that's what, 15, 38, 53, and 23, $76 out of $5. So it turned out pretty good. And then number 1. So I did a couple videos about this one this week. It showed up on my What Sold video, short video, and then I did a book video, kind of a bolo book video. So number 1 was this Bernina Big Book of Feet book for Bernina sewing machines. I was at an estate sale this past Saturday morning, walking around, and saw a bunch of stuff, in a room. There's a bunch of board games, and this one book was sitting there, and I picked it up. I knew the name Bernina. I know they have very high-end sewing machines, and just on a whim, I was like, I'm gonna see if this book's worth anything. I don't know, maybe it is. And I hadn't even looked at the back yet to see that there was a $99 price tag on the book. But I looked it up and was like, okay, these are worth something. I'll pick it up. And I didn't calculate the sell-through rate. I saw that some had sold. So I thought, I'll pick it up. And I asked the guy, and he goes, oh, they're $1. So I'll gamble for $1, take it home. I narrow down my search results, make sure I'm looking at the exact book, just perfect match, and find out it has like a 300% sell-through rate on that book. It just blew me away. The cheapest price that was listed was $85 free shipping. I listed mine. I don't love free shipping, so I just put mine at $79.89 plus shipping, knowing that it may go to somebody close to me and they get a little bit better deal than $85, or it may go, all the way to Washington or Maine and cost, more than $85. So it could go either way. Interestingly enough, it went to, I think, New Jersey, and with shipping, it costs more than $85. So I'm interested. I did promote mine, so mine showed up at the top. So I put 2% on it, so it'd show up at the top of the listings, and maybe that's what did it. But I'm a little interested to see why mine sold versus they paid more for mine versus the $85 book. I don't know. I looked through their listing, it looked just fine, but mine sold, and it sold in about 10 hours. Just, again, completely blew my socks off. So I told my wife about it, how cool it was. Woke up the next morning and saw a sold notification on my phone for it. That's something to look out for. If you see the name Bernina on any sewing stuff, I definitely comp it to see what it's worth. I know the feet themselves can be worth really good money. I've seen other resellers on YouTube talk about those and getting some and selling them. I've never gotten that much into sewing machine parts, but I don't mind selling that book right there. That's for sure. Well, that's really it for this week. I hope I didn't ramble too much. If you have any comments or questions about any of the sales or just about anything that I talked about, or just any comments or questions in general, feel free to leave them down below and I'll make sure and get back to you. But until next time, have a great day.